Oh my. Let's see. Well, oh my. Well, there. Hello. Oh my gosh. It's been so long since we've been in the seat.
I think we have to turn this together. What did it say? Happy together.
Happy together. Happy Venus Friday, everyone. This is one of our favorite times together. For a period of 3 years. We did the Friday Tea Time Ascension talk. And now under Ascension Alchemy, our private ministry, this is our little bit different version.
Yeah.
Is the questions and answers for the ascension energies, as well as in this wonderful TEAlized hour, which is like realized. So we're coming to you live to support our members that are part of the I Am Abundant, as well as our Celebration monthly plan. We're so thankful for the structure that's been placed so we can really serve that which we're so grateful to serve, and be and literally minister. We missed it.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Some time since we've come on, and it's a blessing that we can really, during these moments where there's just so much change and transformation and uprooting and alchemization that's happening through us, around us, in the collective, that we get to come together and really connect and share what's moving through us and how we're vibrating, how our frequencies are moving through these days, and just the blessings that we have this opportunity to be present.
So with this, just grab your tea. As my grandmother used to say, put your feet up, sit back. You're just going to have a little heart-to-heart conversation with each other. And for those of you who are on Instagram, we just want to give a quick little hello here. And we're going to be going off here, and it will be just shared to our private members. If you are interested, please do reach out to us as AscensionAlchemyMinistry@gmail.com to get full details. And we'd love to have you part of this sacred private circle, and where we can just be as a family and not have anything restrict us. Much love, everyone. Well, that's on Instagram. So here we are. This feels so good. So thank you so much, by the way, everyone, for being flexible as we switch the time from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. I feel that works much better for us, as we have just launched this. It's been a little 2 weeks and 2 days. We're learning quite a bit with some of the technicalities, as well as some of the things that are really working well, and some of the things that need adjustment. Just like anything that you start, you launch, you have an idea, and once you put it into implementation, then there's that wisdom within it that's coming forward.
And so, it's a journey. I feel like it's a journey when
I'm going to turn this so you don't get distracted.
Anytime that you have the ability to bring forth, it almost feels like a baby, an opportunity to launch a great dream and desire. It's working through all the kinks and working through all the areas. And most important, just feeling the gratitude that we get to share with you beautiful, dear beloveds that support us, because I know that we started this many years ago. And
so most of you that are joining us on here have not experienced this part of our service, which is really relaxed back, and the purpose of it is to just really be raw and real about ascension, based on our week or the last 2 weeks, what the energies have been, how we've been affected. So we did this for a period of 3 years, It was weekly, right? And it was really wonderful, very intimate setting, and we get to really share this. So here we are, and as some of you will be joining us soon, we get to have that interactive experience with you. For now, right now, it's Michael and I. So you get to hear us, get to know us a little bit more, as we're pretty raw with each other. We share what is working, what is not working, how did the ascension energies affect us?
Yeah.
How did they bring up gifts for us to see? How we kind of like fell from grace, we've fallen on our head, and how in some areas we just didn't, we really allowed the mastery to come in. So, and this is what this series is all about, that we get to do this once a month with you and give you a little breakdown, and have you also share with us on your end.
Yeah.
So that you know all of it is important.
Yeah.
There's no, the great creator has the master plan. We are attempting our best to align with that divine master plan, yet our human plans a lot of times get in the way, and we can't quite see the bigger picture at times. So we have a little bit of tantrum along the way, or triggers or disappointments, and sometimes just pure frustration. So,
but all that's great. I mean,
yeah.
when I really just dive into it all, a lot of times, we can really struggle or suffer through what's moving through. And I truly believe, we've had this conversation many times, is there is a choice to move through in ease and grace. And part of that is also looking at the old patterns and programs of what have come up, especially for this week for me.
Well, listen, do you want to start this week, or should we just start from like February 1st as we started? Energies.
Sure.
So where we are, where would you like?
I'm open. What do you feel?
Okay, if you want to start with the week, go ahead, because this week was your birthday.
So this week was my birthday, and I feel like, when this week started, there was a lot of emotion moving through me. So there was a lot of,
like, what were the emotions? We didn't actually get a chance to talk about it. What were some of the emotions that was moving through you?
Well, I felt, initially there was just this deep level of gratitude for like the ability to have our dear friends come over, for you to share this beautiful sacred ceremony and our soul gathering, and for us to come together, and just the emotions of love to express that in such a deep, profound way. And that just,
and they may not know what exactly that is. If you want to tell them what
was interesting, and this was a very powerful experience, and it's really one for, I feel, we can all learn and feel into, because when you can really give the opportunity to stand in the full presence and express from your love, it is one of the greatest gifts, because it allows the heart to open. So Honey, she surprised me and gave the opportunity for all of our close friends here in our community to stand up with this beautiful heart that she found. And for birthdays, we usually receive gifts, but Honey creatively brought forth the ability to gift what is so.
I invited Michael, instead of receiving gift a part of his heart to the ones that we're very connected, the heart, and give himself the opportunity to, in front of everybody, really open up that space of grace, and let it be shown, let it be revealed, and let another be so touched by that power of love that he feels. Too often we feel all this love, but we don't really share it. And how beautiful it is to have an opportunity like this, where you can freely, really express that love that you feel, stand behind it, and let everybody benefit, not just the person and receiver, but everybody else. But to go through, like, let's say 13 people, 12 people, and each one you express, and I knew it would be amazing. And it was kind of like almost like a passage for you.
I mean, I definitely, that's a great way to say it's a rite of passage, because it's one thing to stand in front of someone to express your heart. It's another to stand in front of a group and then individually express your heart and feel the nature, because
and capture each person, like the way you feel love about them.
And for me,
the uniqueness, right?
And what was so interesting is I could feel myself somewhat tighten up, because when I expressed to them, I almost wanted to pause and just sit in that moment and just take the time to really feel the energy with each individual. Yet when I was done expressing my deep love and deep gratitude and the energy that came through, then it was the next individual. So it really allowed me to stay focused, on point, not go so airy as I can do very easily, and just feel the blessing of what each person has presented in my life. And so, you know, for all those that are watching, you know, not pointing it all toward myself, but that gift of, you know, standing in front of someone, looking into their eyes and expressing how much you appreciate them, how much you love them, how much you really just adore why they have been such a powerful gift in your life. And sometimes, you know, it may be hard for some to look into the eyes. It may be hard because we get overclamped or over choked or over teary with the watery sensations of gratitude. And so that opportunity just melted my heart. And at moments I felt like I could just close my eyes and communicate telepathically with some of the sacred beings. So that really lifted me into a high vibration, but a very sensitive vibration. I feel like sometimes when there's all this love and all this light and it's bubbling, then that light also can, you know, disperse some pockets. And so I remember waking up on my birthday morning and I was happy, but I also felt some sadness moving through. And I think part of that sadness is, you know, it's almost been 5 years now, but there's still that missing of the physical nature of my father, even though he keeps communicating, he's here in the present. So I could feel some of that sadness in the morning of just family and memories of my birthday with my mother and my brother, and yet know that that was the past, and how grateful I can wake up with my beloved, with my wife, with the dream that I've always wished for. So it's like, you know, there's that one song by the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes you get what you need. And so it's like you want it all, yet I'm beyond grateful that I'm here with my, you know, my soul partner, yet there were aspects that was just like washing through me. So that was absolutely interesting to see that phenomenal, and then have a beautiful play day, which we just, you know, decide to be like little children and jump on the moped and go to Anna Marie Island and really just feel the freedom of play and fun and innocence. And that allowed an opportunity just to recognize how important it is sometimes just to stop everything and just go out in the nature. And we were talking about this earlier because the night before we were sitting in this, our dear friends Op for Life Rejuvenation Center, and they have the scalar technology. And, you know, we felt this energy within the scalar technology, but that feeling of like, you don't always want to feel like you're just working to live, working to make money. There's this feeling that you want to also enjoy life and be playful and have fun. And so it was grateful that day that we got to go into nature and just hop on the bike and just pretend like we were tourists here, like have fun and just create a day of exuberant energy of getting food, going to the beach, jumping into some very cold water, feeling the sun, and just honoring a day that I felt was very, very beautiful. And so, of course, as all that light and all that love was coming up, of course, you know, then came a point of where myself allowed this part of me that when things are moving so well, that as we were preparing for dinner and going down to eat that night, I allowed myself to bring forth the not so nice part of me, the part that is kind of like the intruder, or the part that is the lesser conscious, the unevolved masculine that came out. And unfortunately, not only did it come out, but it affected and was brought forth into a projection on Honey, and that shifted the whole energetic frequency, which, you know, in hindsight, I'm very grateful at with everything that comes up. You know, we can always say, I wish this wouldn't happen, this wouldn't happen, but it's really helped me
which
see.
was all about to get into an argument, and it was just, it kind of felt like the night, like it just kind of like killed the energy, that joy, literally. And we've gone through this cycle several times before. It just doesn't feel good. And
just to talk about that cycle, when people are listening, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation, and we were talking about this earlier, because I think this is a very important point.
I told you, for
all individuals to receive. But have you guys ever been in a situation where everything is just great? Everything is good, like perfect. Fantastic. You're riding it. Everything is just like in a sense of just like, wow, we're having an amazing time. And then boom, there's an energy that shifts that. Whether
just something happens and the energy changes.
And it was interesting because as we dove into it, is that energy shifting from tiredness? Is that energy shifting from being hungry? Is that energy coming from lack of sleep? Is that energy
or is it actually like, let's say, some meteorite is hitting, is closer to Earth, or some incoming
human resident
spiked, or
or you cross the grid line from a happy place, and then you just moved into a dense place.
Who knows?
Or could it be a pattern of like impatience that is finding its way to come out at the wrong time, and pressure, worry, and anxiety is now trying to find its way to be seen, and then just comes out of like in the perfect storm. And I feel that night, trying to get to a restaurant on a busy night, looking for a parking space, and just seeing that within me, there was this like internal pressure, anxiousness, and just impatience that was trying to like force something that really didn't have to be forced, didn't have to be placed, but that erupted in a way that could have not affected Honey any greater of this joy, happiness.
Because I was in so much love, I was feeling so much love. We were dressed up, looking so good, fantastic, going out to fancy dinner and like having a great time because we've been wanting to do that. It was just so wonderful. And I'm like, lady, all dressed up, decked out. It was literally like, it just got like smashed and killed. Like literally, it was awful. It was just awful.
Forcing something of trying to get to a place, and
then nothing like you're stuck in. Like now you can't even get out. You can't even leave the restaurant now because you're just in it. And then I don't want to look at him because I'm just trying to do my best to deal with what just the impact of it. And then he's feeling bad, so it's just this really yucky place. Like. Literally, I call it far from grace because you're just in this gracious place. And then why are we speaking of this? Because we're talking about ascension energies, right? What really is that? Like, really, what is that? Is it just the bodily functions? Is it the emotional body somehow that's stirred up because of the physical functions? That's stirred this up now, wants to be expressed? Or is it because so much love, we were being saturated and marinated and the full day, so then now all these yucky things wanted to come out? Or could it be, again, like we crossed the grid line that like literally push things out? Do we really know? Is it one or is it all? We really don't know. Right? Other than what do we know? It came up, it did ruin the night for both of us.
It ruined the night, but in hindsight.
Wait, for that night, it ruined the night. And it didn't feel good. It was not positive. It was sad. We both got very sad about it. And we've experienced this before. And And I certainly don't. I have a really hard time with that. So I was having a hard time having, my struggle to pass through it. And
but that's part of it, because I feel like, the journey in ascension, the journey in spirituality, the journey in awakening and evolution, there's going to be those struggles, there's going to be those shit moments, there's going to be those areas of like, how do you maneuver through? And really, how can we look back and reflect to see what we did? Because, I try to see everything as a gift and an opportunity to learn, grow, and expand. And most important, to not repeat it in a way so that we've taken a lesson from it. We've taken a golden nugget from it. And that day, I remember when you were upset at me at dinner, I was really surprised at myself sitting there being like, wow, I'm eating dinner and I'm not like getting rageful. I'm not getting angry. And I could really just check in with myself. It's like, well, how upset I am. Like, okay, well, if she's upset, she doesn't want to be here. She doesn't want to look at me. She wants to leave as soon as possible. But it was really interesting to see how I remained calm, collect. I checked my belly. It wasn't hurting, which usually hurts.
yeah,
I checked myself of like, well, how angry I am. I'm like, okay, I realized what I did. I am moving through the process, but I wasn't getting more upset at myself or regretting what I did, or like playing this dual side energy that I usually do, because it's interesting. I don't know how many people receive this as like, there's a quality about me when I do something and it affects the other person, especially when it hurts them. I get more upset at myself first than the other individual. And then I go into my own pity party of like, man, I'm so upset at myself. I can't believe I did that. And like, I retract my energy even more because I'm looking at what I did, of how I affected the person, because I never wanted to intend that.
And he usually forgets all about the impact that had on the other person. He's totally moved into his own, that space of inward pity party and like nothing. And then like,
or just processing that moment in a way that, I've been watching myself move from the pity party of more now
so this was different.
This was great because I wasn't getting angry, I wasn't getting upset. It was just a great example when, especially, for the men that could be speaking, or women, is when anger and irritability and frustration move through, how to maneuver through it in a way where if it wants to come out and it really wants to speak, what can you do when you're in a situation where you may not be able to take a plate and break it or take an element of it? So in that sense,
we can't change the name of that.
That's okay.
I just noticed that.
So, in this situation, we were in a restaurant, we were in a place that we couldn't quite, be as raw and real. So I just sat with anger. I sat with frustration.
But it was still like, I was still like in that, I felt like I was still like, as uncomfortable as it was, I was still really like, I couldn't pretend to put on a good face because I just couldn't. I couldn't pretend to move forward, have a good food. Interestingly enough, it's a place that we love so much, but the food ended up being terrible. So it was like a matching frequency.
Even the people
we couldn't even believe that the people on the line were yucky. So like something clearly happened before we even, got here. The energy was, impacted. So
and I felt when we went there, I felt like I felt like literally when we were driving all the way to the island, as soon as we hit Lido,
energy change.
I feel like the energy shift. Even before myself, there was like this. Have you guys ever been driving in a place and you're like in this like, wow, everything's good, and then you move
like
to
hallelujah,
and like life is like special, and it's just like you're just floating, and then you like go into an area and it almost feels like you've kind of hit this this density. And as soon as we went into this place, which we love, I mean, Armin's Circle is beautiful, Lido is really beautiful, but I almost felt like there was just like this density of energy that just kind of, it almost like it invaded where I felt like I wasn't as like happy anymore. I wasn't joyful anymore. It almost felt like it just shifted.
Like you get, it was almost like as if, let me do this real quick too, Michael, because this is I want to use this. Hold on 1 second. It was like as if you were, oi, where is it? Hold on a minute. No. Okay.
What are you doing?
Okay, here we go.
What are you doing?
I'm doing this. Little ADD in the middle of this. Okay. So it felt like it was yanked, like you ever feel like you just got yanked. But I wasn't. I was in such a joyful, happy, loving place. But Michael got yanked. And there are times that I've gotten yanked. And like literally as if you've gotten zapped. So do we have clear answers about the navigating through this? We can't quite tell you because we're discovering as we go along. It's like a trial and error, 100 times trial and error. You know, sometimes we get it better and sometimes we don't. And we then, of course, get mad at each other, upset at each other, and then speak through it. And once the bodies have calmed down, come through it to see, okay, what did we learn? How can we apply it? And we come up with different solutions. And sometimes we're able to apply them and sometimes we're not. And I feel this particular one, it felt like as if there was a turning point.
Yeah.
There was a, maybe because it's the 7 years together and you're going into this year of this, you're going to the year of, 11,
Mastery.
47. So maybe, perhaps, maybe it seemed like a cycle, some cycle look, because there was this area is the area that up until this point, honestly, this was the one area that we struggled. Like, how do we maneuver when we're in a really good place for Michael to remain in that fantastic place, not let his energy go anywhere? And then if his energy go, for me not to be affected. And to be honest, like I feel probably 50% of the time we've done good, the other 59 up until this point. But afterwards, we got to go through a very powerful healing process on Tuesday.
Before we get to the afterwards itself, I just want to speak to what's happened because one thing I'm very grateful.
Somebody say full moon because it was full moon too, which I don't resonate with anymore.
Right. So one thing that I feel is very powerful is just to look at the nature that, what the sacred divine feminine can help teach the masculine. And one area that I see in the consciousness of it is, sometimes the masculine, there's like a quick reaction, there's a charge, there's a frequency. And one thing that I appreciate about Honey and how she's really helped me see my lens refine with deeper focus is how can one be more preventive? What can be done to help reduce the cause and effect, reduce the reaction? Because ultimately we have a choice of being conscious behind our behavior, being aware, making sure that if there's an old tendency and pattern, how can one not only learn from that, but apply it? So it's not just like you're kicking your foot on the door every time you walk out. Like what is being done? So, from this experience, I feel like when Honey went through this reaction and it showed me deeper of like, okay, when there is these moments where there's utter joy, utter happiness, and there's like this area of just like ecstasy, one of the most important things that she said numerous amount of times is how can you protect the flame? How can you protect the energy in this relationship? Because even if there's all these foreign intruders and all these yada things happening, energy frequencies, ascension, human resonance comments, there's one choice that we have. Do we give the energy? Do I give the energy to the impatience, to the irritability, to the intruder? Or do I not? Do I have the ability to speak to Honey and say, Honey, I'm starting to feel irritable. I'm starting to feel pressure. I'm starting to feel anxious. Do I have the ability to communicate myself?
To give more of the energy to the love instead of separating from it so quickly where your energy just drops and gets pulled. And this is a major mastery. It's no joke,
And I love what you said, because giving that energy to the love, how many times can you be in a place where love doesn't even feel relevant because the anger wants to take center stage, the fuel of fire wants to take the stage, this
injustice or
or
hunger,
it all wants to take stage.
irritability.
Or irritability, or even the ability of just being like, just feeling shitty at the moment. Can one move into that place of love and say, okay, shittiness, I'm going to express from love what I'm going through, because that imbalance or that energy is not who we are. It's a limited perspective, a limited conditioned belief or energy. It's moving through. But we don't have to identify or merge with it. We can still stay in that loving place. And like you said, what a mastery to go through those situations, because in the end, honey doesn't deserve it. I don't deserve it. In the end, it's a special moment to go through. So we learn a lot, we speak a lot, and most important, we process a lot through that, so that we can, make our lives easier, so that as it may happen in the future, there is a strategy, there's a game plan. And so I feel like that took us into a very, very powerful experience the next day, which I'll let Honey go into, because we both felt very upset the next morning. We started talking, and it lasted throughout the day, and toward the evening I just had this intuitive guidance, like, you know what, just listen, just let Honey speak, because for so many times when Honey would speak, I would get upset at the language, or I'd feel like she was like taking it out of proportion, or she was exaggerating, or half the time I just didn't feel like that doesn't seem like what it was, but it didn't matter, because whatever she's expressing is the truth of what's coming from her heart. So finally I just said, okay, Honey, can you just express everything that's going through you?
Yeah, so what was a turning point was I felt very upset. I felt very sad, and I felt frustrated over the repeated time this pattern has come, and I kind of moved to this place of helplessness. Like I brought this, like Michael and I love each other so much. We have so much greatness between us. And here's this one little part, no matter what, we can't get it to work. And I see it so clearly, but somehow Michael just can't get it. And I don't know what to do. And it just felt really awful. And so I felt that place. And and it was eating me up. And when he's like, go ahead, express. And I really just, because a lot of times we as women, we hold back how we want to say it, or sometimes because if you say it all, the other person might get upset. We have to filter it so much. It never feels totally safe to say everything. And at that moment, I was like, okay, I don't have anything to lose. It's just eating me up. I just want to say it. It's not about it. I want to release myself from this pressure. I feel that I have to like watch what I say, because I'm a spiritual being, and it has to be presented in this way. And I'm a reverend, so my reverendship has to be expressed in this way. Meanwhile, my human experience is having this, and I see it, and I've kind of like had it the way this has come out. So I really opened up, and I just started just sharing. And what was so interesting was that for the really truly first time, we've had moments like this, but Michael got to actually sit and truly listen to me in a very tough conversation, while almost like I was one of his, when he does a divine heart listening, like one of the women comes on, speaks about their husband and the area that they're unhappy about. He doesn't hear her, what's going on. So I get to really express that, and he got to actually hear it, kind of like for the first time he was able to separate himself, Michael himself, and then just be able to like put himself over here and put his listening self here and hear me. And that was so healing for me, because it was uninterrupted. It was actually heard, because we women have our answers inside. we don't need the guidance. We don't need the tell us what to do. We just need to express it as it's expressed out. The answers and solutions, all of that is with it. It just needs to come out. But when it bundles up, it creates a lot of frustration. And last 2 weeks, I have had a lot of kind of challenge with my thyroid here, like blocking my airway passage. And so it just needed to come out. It really needed to be expressed. And it was a whole lot of load expressed over the amount of times this has happened, how much that actually hurts me, how it affects me, how it affects my nervous system, how it ties into me growing up, with my father, under my brother, with my first boyfriend, my spouse, former spouse, like how it's not energy I want, and I'm choosing a different life, and how, he doesn't, I'm very aware he doesn't mean it, but it's like the awareness isn't enough there, but I know that's a healing in me. And yet, I'm showing here's this flame is filled with love, because this love has all the answers. When we go play, it rejuvenates us, it brings new solutions, it brings new opportunities. It is not to be yanked. We have to be so much in charge of this. And so it was so wonderful. And that did something to both of us. That ability to communicate at that level brought a lot of healing in my heart, brought also the awareness I feel in my core as someone who's in the masculine form. The masculine form itself is very beautiful, and the way it becomes a sacred and divine masculine, when it can remain here from its balanced place versus its imbalanced place, and be a beholder, a protector, a true protector of that. And so the healing can take place in the other person, but not bring the trash, don't trash it. So that really clicked in, and I was very happy about that, because it seemed to finally click through this experience. And maybe because it was so meaningful, because it was his birthday, it hit home greater. It was brought greater into the light. And
actually, that night, I remember when you went to bed early, I went out on a walk, and it was like late at night. I just walked all the way to the edge of our neighborhood, and I looked up at the sky, and I said, God, just talk to me. Like, what is it that I need to see? And I just kept feeling that you are powerful to hear and receive anything that your heart desires when it's open to receive. And so I just remember sitting there, because I was just very like sad and just like, what the heck just happened? And how could this possibly, happen on my birthday? And the last thing I wanted was my, sacred beloved, who's done so much for me in this birthday week, and just the planning, the gifts, the joy, the videos, all the things that we're moving through. And the Blu-rays coming through right now. And I just remember just feeling that empowerment, and I feel that empowerment took over in ways that allowed me to see that all of us have the ability to just listen and just step aside from the ego and the mind, and just see and feel the power of how you can just be as receptive, open to just listen, and see that hearing is
that's
healing.
pretty freaking powerful.
Hearing is like the healing that comes forward. And
as hard
as it was to bring forth that, I felt like, as these rays of light are coming through, it was like these rays were also communicating through me of just to step back, to listen, and really to let Honey express everything, because I knew that this was just years of myself, let alone possibly years of previously with all men, that it had to come out. And the biggest key about this for all those that are listening is, I'm really understanding that no matter what is being said, no matter how bad it sounds, no matter what words are being said, no matter how many accusations, whether they're true or not, are as real as day, no matter what's coming through, it's just so important to just stand there and listen.
And listen with love.
Yeah.
Like really listen with love, because that's where the healing takes place.
Yeah. And that love to me was the biggest gift, because as hard it was as it was to stomach, as sad as I felt afterwards.
Because I really had to share a few things with Michael, like what, I was just not happy about, and how it made me feel like there's this one particular area.
Yeah. And it's great because I felt like through that experience, and even this experience, it gives us the opportunity to be as raw, authentic, real, and to really start diving even deeper of saying, okay, when this happens, what are choices being involved?
Yeah.
Honey said something very funny to me. She's like, I just want to look at you as someone having a seizure.
Yeah, so it was funny. So I woke up in the morning, the next day, Wednesday morning, I had an idea. I said, okay, so while he's trying to figure out like better strategies, I said, okay, here's my strategy. What can I do? So and Michael explained to me, he's like, honey, I haven't gotten this yet. I'm trying, but I need healing in this area. Like
could you help me?
Can you help me?
Is there anything you can do in your end as I go through it?
So then when I woke up in the morning, I was like, okay, because my mother has seizures, I was like, and you have a lot of compassion for that. I was like, I'm going to pretend Michael is having a shit fit seizure. So it's a seizure that has this shit fit, like expression of it. So this way, I actually have compassion. I can't get upset because he doesn't have control over it. It's a seizure came out of nowhere, and then he turns 180 degrees different, which is kind of funny because you all have gotten a chance to know Michael. He's a sweetheart, adorable, precious, so gentle, so. And then what you don't see every now and then is this other alter
hook.
We call it hook, but alter twin, alter evil. I don't even know what to call it, which none of you really see.
We all have our dark sides.
Once in a while, my family has seen it, but it's like it's just so shocking. And probably because if he wasn't such a nice guy, probably wouldn't be as shocking. But because he's like human angel, adorable, precious, so loved.
Majority of the time.
It makes no sense. So I have a hard time digesting that, to be honest.
And it's funny you said a seizure, shit fit is because at one point I remember you saying, I just wish I could just look at your dark side and go, like almost like it's like in an immature state of where you could just be like, oh, I see you. Oh, like kind of like playing with that like angry baby that's crying and yelling. That's not affecting you, because that's really what it is. It's an inner trauma of my childhood coming out and projecting and directing it. And so it gives Honey a greater ability to say, okay, can I be resilient to it and allow myself not to be affected, which is not easy at all, especially when you're in a high state or quote unquote be a joy killer. Then what are our choices and what can be done? So I feel this is very valuable for a lot of couples.
You're going through it as couples, but even siblings, parents, with clients, with friends, friends,
relationships,
where they're just, I don't know, to project or dump shit on you, or just mistreat you, but it's not. It just happened to be for whatever reason, some energy change, and then it come out like. This is about Ascension Hour. This is about questions and answers. This is about being real. This is about we are leaders and being put in the position of leadership in the leading edge of ascension. We are facing these, and we'll stumble 100 times before we grasp the mechanics of it. There's certain areas we definitely have grasped the mechanics of it, because we've discovered, okay, we found the navigation. And there are areas such as this one, to be honest, up until this point, we had not gotten the mechanic. We've attempted so many things and it seemed like everyone had failed. literally. It's like a field experiment.
Or you could say
And-
everyone it has been leading up to this one of giving an opportunity.
Because it was like, from our human understanding, it wouldn't be fixed. So it's repeating. So
Yeah.
there's that frustration, all of that. However, I feel this week with this, we both experienced, oh wow, this was something very different, like a whole pattern cycle just shifted, which was interesting in our meditation together today. So when we did our individual meditation today, as we sit together, it was a very interesting thing that I saw, which Michael also saw. So we never say to each other, we just, after we finish individual meditation, we sit, we hold each other's hand in front of each other, we go into 5-minute meditation, sometimes 7 minutes. And what I saw was, it was kind of first dark, and there was this transparent sheet between Michael and I, but our hands were touching each other, and my consciousness went on his side, and it was all dark, but he was being rooted out of something, like being pulled apart out of something. Something was being left behind. And I came on my side, it was all flowers and butterflies and rainbows. And then his face was in the sheet coming on this side. And I would look, he's literally being unrooted and coming in. So that was interesting. And then Michael saw in his meditation today
of myself clearing the areas of density by shining the light within me. And as I kept breathing, the light would move pockets of density through myself. So I just kept breathing in the light that was connecting both of us. And as the wind blew, it was like dissolving and dissipating all the energy through me. So it was interesting how a lot of our parallel meditations reflect what's going through. And
just 1 second, I wanted to speak on that, because I feel when I'm speaking about, we broke a cycle, we literally like deep rooted, we rooted a cycle that we were not able to sort of, for lack of a better word, fix, but it was rooted, and it became restructured, like deconstructed, restructured, a real pattern broke. And that's what I feel. And these are the gifts of ascension, because if you can stomach to go through it, when you're on the other side, it's fantastic. But going through it is difficult, because you do want to escape, you do want to run away. It doesn't feel good, like it just feels awful. And especially if you're in a union, it hurts, like the union hurts, like the heart of the union hurts that this conflict has come up. But can you move through it? Is your love stronger enough to communicate through it? Can you have the ability to actually listen, and the will to take steps towards the positive shift? It takes a lot of maturity, and it is the courage and strength. So when we walked together, then Tuesday, I told Michael, I said, Michael, it takes so much courage that I get to share all of that with you, because whether you liked it or not, whether you be upset, you would want to leave, I would want to leave, none of it mattered. I had to free myself from holding myself back from saying this. That took her, and it took a lot of courage for you to listen to that level, which was so healing for me. And you actually, and it raised in you how it is to actually listen. So you, as you lead the sacred masculine, how healing it is for them to find the courage with their love to listen, not with their head, but really with their love to listen, because it does create change, and the patterns are shifted. Then healing takes place, because it's ascended to the light, right? So it can ground in embodiment. That's the whole point. And this is why this hour that we have once a month is very raw, very real. We speak about what we've experienced personally. And when those of you are then later here with Zoom, you get to share with us as well, because yes, incoming frequencies have an impact. All kinds of things have an impact. And when we start taking the focus away from incoming frequencies, moons, full moons, gateways, stargates, grid lines, whatever, but just detaching from this, but noticing them and coming into, okay, what is being ascended in me in light, so that I can meet it with love, and then I can, once it's transformed, that I can descend into the wisdom and embodiment. That's the key part of this. And this is major mastery level.
Yeah.
It's literally no kindergarten.
It's not. And I feel the gift of it all when looking back is.
And then to have the courage, I apologize, to be raw and real, open, and no shame, no embarrassment, and to recognize we are put in this position to go through it, to then communicate it. And it's not about like our relationship is broken.
No, I feel like we did an amazing job, because a lot of times when, and I'm sure many of you can relate, when you go through a conflict, whether it's between a partner, a daughter, a father, a mother, a son, any relationship, there is an impact. And so one of the greatest things that we can do on this ascension journey is, how can we be resilient through that impact and clear it in a level that it doesn't have to last for days. Many times in the past when we would go through this, it would last for a while, maybe last to a week, and that would just affect our health, affect our sleep, affect our well-being. So point being is, when we can really sit and heart someone by fully being present and listen, and not respond, not speak back, not defend, not deflect, not personalize, not victimize, not do anything to break the frequency of the one that's speaking, is truly the best healing gift you can give to someone. And that, to me, you really have to step back and not personalize, not judge, not assume, not do anything, but just be present. And when that can happen, man, you're going to pat yourself on the back and say, if I can do that for someone else, then I can do that for many people. And just to listen and hear, you're providing healing beyond just the individual. It's generations.
That is the healing.
Yeah.
That is the healing.
And it's generational healing. It's ancestral healing.
Absolutely.
It's collective healing. It's like we in this somewhat limited awareness, we can say, oh, this is just for an individual, but it's such a greater level of impact and awareness that gives the body that greater control, especially self-control of the thoughts and the emotions. And I feel as a masculine, one of the areas where a lot fall from grace is how we choose to react from our lesser conscious mind, from our emotions that have never been revealed, or patterns that we've just didn't get a chance to learn from a healthy, mature, conscious being. So they all come out in just forms that at the end of the day, sometimes we just kind of put a cover over it. We don't recognize it. We move forward and we just forget about it and say, oh, it's all going to be good, poo-poo it away, and then come back around and there it is again. And so you actually stop and say, okay, what is happening? What's moving forward? So I know this was, one event that took up most of our talk today, but I feel like it's an important one, because one thing I'm learning with Honey is this is an applicable event. And I find one of our gifts that we love to share about is our ability to be real, be raw, be authentic, but most important, share from our hearts that we know can help others, because we find that what's moving through us is very, very, it's just very, very, I can't think of a word right now. It's very profound.
Because you at some point you put in this position, and there are healthier ways, and it's not always easy. Some areas you do very well. There are those that I don't care. Okay, no problem. It doesn't even affect me. And one that's very, very, very close to you will have a different impact. And that's the whole purpose of this Ascension Hour, is to be very authentic, sit back, have the tea, and be open up, like we're just sitting in our, in our like living room and having a real authentic conversation, because anything that has to do with ascension journey, it is the walk of it, and it is the authenticity that is the wise energy that has gone through it, that wants to share the wisdom with others. And for that, we're very thankful for those of you who are part of this monthly membership that get to hear this. And we really want to be able to also hear from you. And we'll see. I mean, there's certain dates that are very powerful. Like we have the next one will be right before the spring equinox. That's going to be very powerful. So naturally, there is some impact on that. So we get to speak through that. Yeah.
And I feel that for those that are watching this on the recorded version, if there's any questions or there's any experiences or there is anything that you personally received, please feel to share in a message.
In the comment section.
In the comment section, please feel share to send a message to us. Please feel share to, reach out and say, wow, this was something that really helped me because, like Honey said, this is an ascension process and there's no right or wrong, good or bad. We're moving through it as a collective. And the more we can share these stories, we can be authentic, then it really starts to give us the opportunity to say, wow, this is exactly what I need to hear, because what can we do to manage our anger? What can we do to be resilient when a shitty situation comes? How can we move through it in grace and ease and not let some of these lower tendencies and patterns that maybe our parents would have just been like, oh, I'm just going to bury it. Oh, I'm just going to let the man be who he is because that's what the man has always done. Or I'm going to act like a firecracker and that's what I've always done because that's what my dad did. All of these areas are giving us the opportunity to say, can I be a different version of who my parents are? And can I be the fullest expression of my God presence?
Yeah, good one. Really good. So we're very thankful for your heart listening today to this Ascension Hour and TEAlized Hour, and we look forward to hearing from you, and we welcome you to this dynamic as Michael and I within the monthly. We have many different ways in which we're in service to our call, which is assisting humanity to its divinity. And how can we do that if we don't have our own direct experience? So we only share from what's directly we've experienced and we've gone through, and through all of it, the joy as well as the hardship. So, and that's what I love about us.
Yeah, it's a great time to express and be real, because I believe if this
is alchemizing ascension.
Alchemizing ascension. And if I could sit down and listen to another story, I would find so much benefit from it, because man, would it be nice just to learn the areas that sometimes people haven't taught us, the expressions of what we choose to do when emotions just go rampant, or times that we love each other so much, but then a moment comes up and it's like, what the? And so I'm grateful that today we could dive in deeply and share this. And thank you for all that are joining us and really supporting this Ascension Alchemy Healing Ministry. We feel very blessed and honored, and just thank you all for being of highest loving support.
So happy Ascension to all of you. Happy Friday Ascension to you. May you have a fantastic weekend. And we'll see just about all of you tomorrow, where Dr. Maybudi is going to be live at 11 a.m. Eastern. Super excited. He is the physician, multidimensional physician on our call once a month. We have him on the first, second Saturday of each month, where he will go over like what we're experiencing physically from like illness or pain or whatever, and then he takes it through the multidimensional galactic ascension understanding. So you get to also ask any question you have. And Michael and I both have had healing session with him. He's phenomenal, and it's a joy to watch that. So looking forward to it, and so much love to all of you.
Much love to you all. Blessings to you.